Hello, and welcome to the online version of the Kentucky 801 Construction Project public presentation. The in-person meeting was held in the Moorhead Conference Center on December 14th. This online version will cover all the materials presented at that meeting and explain how to submit your questions and comments. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, teamed with engineering consultants, are in the early design phase of the reconstruction of Kentucky 801. The project begins near the MMRC Industrial Park entrance and ends at Kentucky 158 near Sharkey. The corridor is broken into 3 segments in order to view it in greater detail and see the alternatives possible for each segment. Segment 1 begins near the Industrial Park entrance and ends near the App Harvest entrance. Segment 2 begins near App Harvest and ends near Baseline Drive. And Segment 3 begins there and ends at Kentucky 158. Kentucky 801 was recently reconstructed at the Industrial Park entrances and includes a left turn lane, 12-foot driving lanes, and an 8-foot graded shoulder. North of that area, the driving lanes narrow and the shoulder all but disappears. Truck traffic is increasing from the new industries moving in, and farm equipment can often be encountered throughout the corridor. There are also a number of vertical hill crests and sags that limit how far drivers can see. At the beginning of each roadway project, the Transportation Cabinet creates a purpose and needs statement to guide and prioritize the many aspects that go into the design. For this project, it is improving Kentucky 801 to address the current deficiencies, growing development, and increased traffic volumes, will improve safety, mobility, access, and connectivity for this region of Rowan and Fleming counties. Also, with each project, a study is done to determine the environmental impacts that the new construction might have. This can include endangered species, hazardous materials, potential historic properties, public property such as parks, and more. Initial investigations for this project have revealed no issues that would prevent any of the alternatives from moving forward. Noise and archaeology studies will be completed after the final alignment is chosen. A traffic study was done for the corridor to obtain existing and future traffic numbers, turning movements at major intersections, and the percentage of trucks. Based on the projected growth rates, the traffic for this portion of Kentucky 801 is expected to increase from the current 5,270 vehicles per day to 8,650 vehicles per day in 25 years. Crashes were analyzed for a 4-year period from 2015 to 2019. A total of 29 crashes were reported, where 9 of those had injuries and 1 had a fatality. Most were spread throughout the corridor. However, a number were clustered near the Blue Bank intersection, at the Kissick Road intersection, and around the intersection at Kentucky 158. Please know that the next few slides will contain a number of maps and graphics that may be hard to see in detail. They are available for separate viewing by using the links on this website. Here are the 2 roadway designs that may be used in Segment 1 from the Industrial Park up to App Harvest. One is a 3-lane rural section with 12-foot lanes, 8-foot half-paved, half-grass shoulders, and open ditches on each side. The other is again a 3-lane rural section with the same lane and shoulder dimensions, but would have a 10-foot paved shared-use path for walkers and bicyclists outside the roadway ditch on the northbound side. This path would begin near the Industrial Park entrance and end at Ellington Loop Road. These are the roadway designs that would be used in segments 2 and 3 from App Harvest to Kentucky 158. One is a 2-lane rural section with 12-foot lanes, 8-foot half-paved, half-grass shoulders, and open ditches on each side. The second is again a 2-lane rural section with the same lane and shoulder dimensions, but would have a 10-foot paved shared-use path outside the ditch on the northbound side. This shared-use path would end at Ellington Loop. The third is a hybrid section that has the rural 8-foot shoulders with open ditch on the southbound side, but has curb and gutter with the shared-use path on the northbound side. Without the full shoulder and open ditch, this design would require less right-of-way as the road passes behind a number of houses in Segment 2. It would have a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit and end at Ellington Loop. The rural section would be used from there northward. In addition to the 3 segments, the project could include reconstruction of the Industrial Park entrance. Currently, some drivers have limited visibility looking northward as they pull out of the park. This reconstruction would lower the crest of the hill and create the ability to see further. This reconstruction could fit with any design option chosen for Segment 1. Cost for making this improvement would add an estimated $2.5 million for construction. However, it would require only a small amount, less than 0.1 acre, of additional right-of-way. For Segment 1, both of the alternatives follow the same alignment and have a continuous two-way left turn lane. The roadway centerline would shift slightly to the east, improve the vertical sag curve near Blue Bank Road, and flatten the horizontal curve at the App Harvest intersection. However, there are two potential roadway designs available. Alternative 1 in cyan or light blue has the rural open shoulder open ditch design with no shared use path. Alternative 2 in magenta or pink has the same design as Alternative 1, but with the addition of a shared use path along the east or northbound side. Construction costs for these alternatives are estimated at $4.3 million for Alternative 1 and $4.9 million for Alternative 2. Both would require 4 residential relocations. Alternative 1 would affect 16 properties and Alternative 2 would affect 17. For Segment 2, the alternatives continue to share the same alignment for some distance along the east side of the existing road. However, they shift to the west side and diverge into 3 separate alignments just south of the Kissick Road Cumberland Drive intersection. Alternative 1 in cyan stays the closest to the existing road and continues with the rural design and no shared use path. Alternative 2 in magenta shifts the furthest west and keeps its rural design with a shared use path. Alternative 3 in green shifts west a distance between the other two, but begins the half-rural, half-curb and gutter design with a shared use path along the east or northbound side. All the alternatives end up in the existing roadway centerline at Baseline Drive at the end of the segment. Alternative 1 has an estimated construction cost of $3.7 million, would require no relocations and affect 12 properties. The construction cost for Alternative 2 is an estimated $4.3 million, would require no relocations and also affect 12 properties. Alternative 3 has an estimated construction cost of $4.2 million, has no relocations, and affects 11 properties. For Segment 3, from Baseline Drive to Kentucky 158, there are 3 distinct alignments, all of which diverge to the east from the existing roadway corridor and run through or around the Pennington Farm. All 3 will use the same 2-lane rural roadway design with an added left turn lane where needed. In addition, all 3 will include the shared use path from Segment 2 to Ellington Loop, if that is the chosen alternative in Segment 2. Alternative 1 in orange traverses through the Pennington Farm, staying nearly parallel to the existing corridor but behind the houses and barns along the existing roadway. It would end at a T intersection with Kentucky 158 across from Skaggs Lane. This alternative would include a cattle underpass for the farm, and the intersection would include a left turn lane for the northbound traffic at the intersection. As shown, the design speed would be 55 miles per hour. At an estimated $3 million construction cost, this would be the least expensive of all the Segment 3 alternatives. It would include 1 residential relocation and affect a total of 13 properties. Alternative 1A, shown in the inset, is identical to Alternative 1, but would have a roundabout intersection at Kentucky 158. This roundabout would be larger than the current roundabout on Kentucky 801 south of the interstate. With an estimated $3.8 million construction cost, this is the second least expensive alternative for the segment. In addition, it would include 1 residential relocation and affect a total of 17 properties. Alternative 2 in red follows nearly the same path as Alternative 1 through the farm, but turns northeast as it approaches Kentucky 158. In this way, the northbound Kentucky 801 to eastbound Kentucky 158 in its opposing direction would be a through non-stop movement. Existing Kentucky 158 approaching from the west would have a stop T intersection. Ellington Loop and Johnson Flat roads would intersect the new road in nearly the same configuration as they do now. As shown, the design speed would be 45 miles per hour, but might be adapted for 55 miles per hour with some modifications. The estimated $4.1 million construction cost makes it more expensive than either Alternative 1 or 1A. It would require no residential relocations, but would affect 19 properties. Alternative 3, in white, turns east from the existing corridor and skirts through the south and east boundaries of the Pennington Farm. It joins Kentucky 158 in a through, nonstop movement similar to Alternative 2, but more along the current roadway alignment. Existing Kentucky 158 would have a T intersection across from Johnson Flat Road. There would also be a second Ellington Loop connection just south of that intersection. As shown, the design speed would be 45 miles per hour, but might be adapted for 55 miles per hour with some modifications. The estimated $4.6 million construction cost makes it the most expensive of all the alternatives in this segment. It would require 2 residential relocations and would affect 22 properties. The current 6-year roadway plan, as developed by the Cabinet and Legislature, has $2.3 million for right-of-way acquisition in the fiscal year 2023, $1.1 million for utility relocation in fiscal year 2024, and $15.2 million for construction in fiscal years 2025 and 2026. After this meeting, the design team will continue to collect information and make a decision on the preferred alignment early next year. Then later in 2022, right-of-way plans will be submitted and the appraisal and acquisition process will begin. Then in late 2023, utility relocation work will begin, with roadway construction scheduled about a year later in 2024. At the in-person meeting, 2 forms were provided to those who attended. One was a brochure with a brief explanation of the project and some graphics that have been included in this presentation. Another form was a questionnaire where we asked for feedback and opinions on the alternatives and those the public thought best to move forward with. Both of these forms are available as PDF downloads from this website. If you download and fill out the questionnaire, please note the address and the final date for sending it in by mail. You can also use the interactive questionnaire and submit that electronically when completed. Please know that any information you provide will be kept confidential, and you are not required to fill out anything you feel uncomfortable to include. Additional contact names, email addresses, and phone numbers are provided if you need to reach us. We would like to thank you for viewing this presentation and look forward to reading your responses to the questionnaire or receiving any questions or comments. Have a blessed holiday season.